Thank you very much, Mr. Pacanelli. Thank you for the support that Eurotax and the valuable contribution of Eurotax to this project since the very start. We will hear more about the Eurotax perspective and vision from your colleagues, Mr. Scalia later today, Mr. De Sabata tomorrow, when we will present the standards more in detail. So thank you for being with us. And thank you to all the speakers that have introduced our event this morning. And now, I would like to pass the floor to Mrs. Dana Thomas, author of Fashionopolis, a journalist of Vogue UK, who will introduce an inspiring conversation that will set the scene. Dana, please on stage, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Am I supposed to put the mask? I thought we were taking them off. On, okay, it's been changed. Sorry. Okay. Let me begin with a few statistics. Today, fashion is a $1.5 trillion business, a global industry. And experts believe that the fashion industry is responsible for 10% of carbon emissions in our air and devours 1/4 of all the chemicals produced worldwide. Synthetic fabrics release microfibers into water when washed, both at mills and at home. And up to 40% enter rivers, lakes, and oceans and work their way up the food chain to us. Of more than 100 billion items sold in the fashion industry each year, or made each year, produced, 20% go unsold. The leftovers, that means 20 billion pieces of clothing and shoes and accessories, are usually burned, shredded, or incinerated. In short, the fashion industry overproduces and overpollutes. And if the global population swells to 8.5 billion by 2030, and we don't change our consumption habits, we will buy 63% more fashion. From 62 million tons to 102 million tons a year, which means all those statistics, those grim statistics I just told you about pollution, will double at least. Happily, after much shouting and protesting by environmental NGOs and activists, including myself, fashion companies, large and small, are rethinking their business models, from field to form, or dirt to dress. A total overhaul of their supply chains, including sourcing cleaner materials, manufacturing energy-efficient factories, reshoring and localizing production to reduce the carbon footprint, even swapping out plastic hangers for recycled cardboard hangers. The aim is to reduce the environmental impact across the board and to meet those goals, the goals of net zero carbon emissions by 2050, as set by the COP21 climate agreement drawn up in 2015 in Paris. One of those driving forces to meet the goals is the UN Sustainability Pledge. Launched last spring, the pledge is a call to action inviting governments, garment and footwear manufacturers, and industry stakeholders to collectively work towards improving the environmental and ethical behavior of the fashion sector. While there are hosts of initiatives out there, public and private, such as the Fashion Pact, the Sustainable Markets Initiative Task Force, the Sustainable Apparel Coalition, and so on, so many of them, the UN is doing what it does best, diplomatically uniting all the players in a non-competitive manner to reach a common solution. This is an important step forward. Unity is the only way fashion can successfully affect positive change on a global scale. To make it work, the UN has developed a host of cooperation actions and systems that brands can adopt to implement green reforms throughout their businesses and industry. It has also created standardized measures for impact. This way, every fashion business can report accurately the damage it causes and the improvements it makes. Right now we have standards, measurements all over the place. Nothing is standardized. The UN is sorting this out. Which brings me to my guest today, Gianluca Pandolfo, Patagonia's Commercial Director for Europe, the Middle East, and Asia, and a graduate of economics from Bocconi. For 50 years, the American outdoor and sports clothing brand Patagonia has, as its mission statement says now, been in the business to save our planet. Gianluca will tell us how fashion as a whole can be more responsible, environmentally and ethically responsible and friendly. Thank you.
Thank you, Gianluca, for joining us this morning. So, Patagonia likes to think of itself as a responsible company. But being responsible admits that you're part of the problem. I think that's great. But tell me, why did Patagonia take that route?
Well, first of all, Dana, thank you very much for having me here and giving me the opportunity to answer to these questions. And yeah, sustainability is not a word we use much in Patagonia. We prefer to describe ourselves as a responsible company. And for Patagonia, being responsible means undertaking the hard process of self-inspections, first of all, and course correction. And we do it step by step over time. And we decide to take this path based on the, I would say, undeniable truth that making stuff, regardless what you produce, has an impact on the planet. And based on that, this is the main reason, for example, why Patagonia is donating 1% of its top revenue every year, in the good years, but also in the bad years, to an organization that is called 1% for the Planet. Through this organization, then, we collaborate and we support more than 1,000 organizations globally. And for the same reason, we became the largest supplier of apparel made in fair trade certified factories. And that is a commitment that is very strong, and we are going to expand in the seasons to come. And you see, all these commitments are as strong as used to be a few years ago. And I want to also give you another example. In 2018, Yvon Chouinard, the founder of Patagonia at the age of 80, has decided to change after almost 50 years the Patagonia's mission statement. And the new mission statement says we are in business to save our own planet. And the big difference between the new one and the old one is that in the new one, we are acknowledging that mitigating the harm that we do by producing product is not enough anymore. We need to do good. And we need to give back more than what we take from our planet. And this has led to another couple of commitments that I would like to share with you. The first one that we introduced on a global scale, the environmental profit and loss. And again, here is pretty simple. We want to give back more than what we take. And in simple words, basically, we measure the impact of our product. We convert those impact into financial terms, and we subtract those from the profit that we generate by selling product. And that's pretty simple because now we can balance margin, revenue, quality on the same page as the impact. And that is a huge step forward for us. And the last but not least, by 2025, Patagonia has committed to become carbon neutral across the entire supply chain, scope 3 included, which accounts on 95% of our emissions. Is that easy? I don't think so. Do we know how to do it 100%? Not yet, but we committed to follow this path and to make it happen. And that's what I'm sure Patagonia will do, probably at any cost, because saving the planet is more important than selling product.
Part of the sustainability pledge is a series of policy recommendations. In your view, does the fashion sector need regulation? And if so, how do you get businesses to accept regulation?
Yes, Okay, let me start by saying that the Sustainability Pledge is a brilliant contribution, and it provides useful and consistent guidance to our sector. And on top of that, it shows how good look like and increase transparency. With that being said, is that enough? I don't think so, and there are two main reasons, in my opinion. The first one is because it's voluntary. Therefore, having only some companies engage is not going to solve the climate crisis that we are facing. Second, there is a lot of greenwashing going on out there. And voluntary systems and standards are not enough because the consumer is simply too confused. So that's why the policy recommendations are becoming increasingly important. Because at the end of the day, what business want is a level playing field. So as long as there is a clear timeline and key requirements that affect all businesses, business will adapt. Also here, how they will adapt it, how they change. I think there is it's becoming obvious that doing business as usual is not a strategy that we can have for anymore. And even if the companies are stuck in these, let's call it short-term shareholders thinking, the business customers, their communities are asking for a change. The new generations, Generation Z, the millennials, but also my generation, we are asking the brands to change and to behave responsibly. And by acting responsibly, the business can have a huge impact on mitigating the climate crisis. And then I want to also give you here 3 things that every business could do starting from tomorrow. The first one is decarbonize the footprint. This is the number 1. The number 2 is push for strengthened global and local policies to reduce pollution and to minimize, reduce pollution and protect nature and communities. And the third one is share the journey and be transparent about the goals. And on top of that, also be transparent with your mistakes, because if you try to save the planet, you will do mistakes. That is 100% sure. So be honest with that, share it, and then focus your energy to fix it.
How do you get the fashion industry to become less greedy and to accept that it's okay to be financially healthy and profitable and still give back?
Well, the industry and the companies are made by people. So therefore, the answer can be quite simple and straightforward, if you like, Dana. To make the industry to become less greedy, the leaders that are managing, influencing, and leading the industry has to become less greedy. And I think there is an urgent need to redefine the meaning of success. And to do that, you need to define new KPIs that companies and leaders and industries have to pursue to do that. But I think the challenge or the question here is, how can we make these new KPIs accepted by the businesses and also to make them become the new standard? And on this regard, we believe in Patagonia that the B Corp movement is playing a big role now and also in the future. Right now, there are more than 4,000 companies that represent a new kind of business that balance purpose and profit. Each of these business, every time they take a decision, they need to consider the impact on the employees, customers, suppliers, communities, and the environment. And honestly, this is the way. This is, in our opinion, the only way the business can mitigate, can support and help to mitigate the climate crisis. Let me finish with this because I think for me it's important, and I'm saying it because there is always this David Brower keeps saying, there is no business on a dead planet, and we should just not forget it because that's the truth.
Thank you very much, Gianluca. Your insight was really illuminating.
Thank you very much to you, Dana. Nice to meet you.
Thank you
very much, Dana and Gianluca. Thank you for an inspiring conversation.